This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and Dexter will get a 9th season. Let's talk about foreshadowing for a minute, because I think this is something TNA really need to go over again if they haven't already. Now, most professional writers will probably tell you that when using foreshadowing to build up to a swerve or to elicit surprise from your readers or your viewers or whatever, there's 2 main ways of doing it effectively. Number 1 is to hint at something that's going to happen in the future in ways that are so subtle that people don't even notice it, but their brains do. But then, after the big reveal has happened, people can go back and take another look at everything that built up to it and be like, oh my god, I see how they set that up now. That makes perfect sense, and it was all right there in front of my face. I can't believe I didn't see that coming. Number 2 is to tease something obviously. Make no illusions about the fact that you're teasing it. Build it up, make the viewers expect a certain thing, and then when the time comes for the big reveal, you deliver it in a way that people didn't expect, in some kind of unexpected fashion that viewers didn't see coming. If done right, the result in either case is surprise! Now, if you have an intelligent writer who knows how to plan ahead and how to properly construct a story, this is not terribly difficult to pull off. But when you spend months, literally months, teasing something, teasing it over and over and over, probably dozens of times, to the point where everyone expects it, and then it happens exactly the way people expected it to happen, that's not a swerve. That's not surprising. That's just lame. And you only dig the hole you're in that much deeper when you spend months establishing the rules of a storyline that you're meant to adhere to, only to throw those rules out with no explanation just to accomplish this. The Aces and Eights have said over and over again that anonymity is power, and don't lose your mask no matter what. Don't reveal your identity no matter what. And then what happens? Taz reveals his identity voluntarily when he didn't have to. Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe reveal their identities voluntarily when they didn't have to. And why? Beats the hell out of me. But apparently that anonymity is power mantra that the Aces and Eights have been preaching for months was just bullshit, because they completely forgot about it. Plot hole! There was no reason, no fucking reason in the world for Taz to reveal his identity. The Aces and Eights could have just as easily ruined the wedding without him doing that. So why did he do it? By doing this, he gave up his anonymity and therefore lost his power. There was no fucking reason for Wes and Garrett to reveal their identities. The Aces and Eights could have just had Doc or Mike Knox attack Angle in the cage, while Devon or someone else pretended to take out Wes outside the cage. That way no one was in danger of being unmasked. But instead, you have Garrett reveal himself voluntarily for no reason at all. Wes reveals himself voluntarily for no reason at all, when everything the Aces and Eights have hammered into us up until this point has been don't reveal yourselves no matter what! Doc and Mike Knox lost their masks and got into hot water with the group, then they had to earn their way back into the Aces and Eights. But now suddenly you've got other members revealing themselves willy-nilly like they think it's a good thing. What the fuck?
This whole show is ridiculous!
I hate to harp on this so much, I really do. But this absolutely reeks of something the writers didn't bother to plan out very well. Clearly they wanted to do some big reveals on the UK tour, but they never bothered to set it up properly, so the whole thing just came off completely half-assed.
I will not participate in this charade this evening.
I love when TNA does shows in the UK. It makes them look so much more big-time than the Impact Zone ever did. So with a big crowd in a big arena that was hot for everything, they would have had to work really hard to get me to hate this show. And I liked it, despite the Aces and Eights angle descending into deepening levels of stupidity that I didn't even know existed. 60 seconds into the show and I'm laughing my ass off. Bad influence in kilts and face paint like old school Scots would have been worth the price of admission alone. And I'm 100% convinced that these guys are writing their own promos, because there is no way the TNA writers are this funny. So these guys are ripping into the English, and I'm laughing so hard I'm almost falling out of my chair. And then Magnus returns. Perfect setup for him. He got a huge reaction by pooning the two of them. And it does suck that Bad Influence had to be the fall guys here, but they know how to get heat. And Magnus is like a superstar in the UK, so this worked great, even though Bad Influence really deserved to be booked stronger than this. A lot stronger. Magnus calls out Devon to get payback for when the Aces and Eights took him out a few months ago. The match is nothing. Devon's not bringing anything to the table anymore, and he seems kind of out of shape these days too. But it was really just about putting Magnus over like a stud. He's got the match won. Doc and Mike Knox hit the ring, and Magnus proceeds to run off all three of them. So the Aces and Eights can't even take a guy out 3-on-1 anymore. Worst faction ever.
You guys suck.
But they showcased Magnus's return at the expense of three chumps who were already jobbers, let's be honest. And that was the important part, so thumbs up on this segment. Next, what starts as another wonderful Joseph Park segment is unfortunately interrupted by Robbie E.
Of all the greats I have studied, I assure you I have never heard of that man.
Robbie, who for some reason believes that he has the credentials to say who's a real wrestler and who isn't.
Oh, what a bunch of bull.
I'm not sure if that was supposed to be a joke or not. Nevertheless, Joseph Park has his first match as an official member of the roster, and they feed Robbie E to him.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Oh my god, this was wonderful. Tell me it didn't put a huge grin on your face when Joseph was shaking the top rope like the Ultimate Warrior? Oh man, this guy is awesome. And he's so brilliant at acting like someone who barely knows what he's doing in the ring. This character has been such a revelation. And as for Robbie, see, this is good. If you absolutely have to use a waste of space loser like Robbie E., this is how you use him. As a low-level enhancement guy to put over the real stars on the show. And make no mistake about it, Joseph Park is a fucking star. Joseph gets that W he was after. That's all I care about. Moving on. What was shaping up to be another instant classic Wet Dream Team promo was tragically cut short when Los Stereotypicos interrupted them.
No!
And even worse, Chavo Guerrero had a microphone.
No!
Can we please just stop with letting Los Stereotypicos cut promos? Nothing good ever comes of this. Ever.
They have nothing intelligent to say.
Every single time this happens, Chavo's mic skills get absolutely shamed by the heels. Be they Bad Influence, Morgan and the Organ, or the Wet Dream Team. And this was no different. A match is made with a tag title shot up for grabs. Austin Aries wins. Thank Christ.
You're welcome.
Aside from Chavo's embarrassingly awful promo skills, the only bad thing about this was that Austin Aries had so much trouble beating a guy who's an overpushed utility player at best. And the audio in this segment was hilarious. You could tell there was a ton of canned heat here, both to drown out the massive pops Aries was getting, and to try to make it look like the crowd wasn't totally apathetic toward the babyfaces. But if you listen closely, you could still hear the Austin Aries chants, you could still hear assorted boos directed at Chavo, and what was really pathetic was that you had to have Aries and Rude cheating their asses off here just so they wouldn't get cheered against these two bland-as-hell loser babyfaces that nobody cares about. As if the former World Heavyweight Champion Austin Aries couldn't beat Chavo Guerrero clean. Fuck that. But the right man wins, new tag team champions are on the horizon, and I for one can't fucking wait.
Yes!
Bully Ray, Brooke, Sting, and Hogan had a segment that really went way too long and could have easily been done in a third of the time, if not less.
Once again, you choose to spotlight this disgusting tabloid scandal.
But it was in the hour main event spot, so we all know why this was there and why it was given as much time as it was. And it was the highest rated segment, so at least it accomplished that. Really drawn out repetitive segment with Hogan apparently trying to break The Undertaker's record of longest, most self-indulgent entrance in the history of wrestling. And long story short, Hogan lifts Bully's suspension. Yeah. So, even though Bully Ray was still appearing on the show every week, still cutting in-ring promos every week, even though he was booked on the UK tour, he's still been under suspension this whole time. Now you figure that one out, because I sure as hell can't.
This whole show violates everything about my journalistic integrity.
Then it's time for the knockout segment, and Velvet Sky comes out.
I got a little something I need to get off my chest right now.
Oh. Yeah. I see what you did there, Velvet. She calls out Tara and Jesse Goddard, and she's trying her best to act all tough and badass, and God bless her, but she just cannot pull that off. That's not in her wheelhouse, I'm sorry. It's one of the reasons why I can't stand her babyface promos. Anyway, we get a mixed tag match with Velvet teaming with James Storm of all people. This was originally going to be a tag match with Galen Tessmacher involved, but Tessmacher was sick and couldn't get cleared in time, so they had to change it to something. I won't criticize the utter randomness of it, but I can't believe, for the life of me, that this is all they have for James Storm right now. In 2012, he was way up here, and now he's way down here. And it's got nothing to do with him. That's the bitch of it. He's great, but creative just keeps dropping the ball on him over and over again. And pinch hitting in a mediocre mixed tag match isn't going to get James Storm back into the main events. So why are you wasting his time with this stuff?
You people are fools!
After a forgettable match, Velvet pins Tara, which I couldn't take seriously for a second. And Velvet's offense is so pathetically weak that Tara selling for it just looks comical. But that's something you just have to put up with in Velvet Sky matches, unfortunately. At least it got James Storm on the show, so yay for that, I guess. So the main event of the evening is the Angle-Anderson cage match that was set up last week. And they did a good job of hyping this up with video packages of their feud from 2010, which was very necessary because the history of that feud was pretty much the only thing this match had going for it in terms of context. That was well done, and it was a good cage match. It did devolve into finisher palooza like a lot of Angle's matches do, but I can't complain about the effort they put in. Angle wins, of course, because the Aces and Eights are jobbers. Then one of them climbs into the cage, gets backed into a corner by Angle and Wes Briscoe, then voluntarily takes his mask off, and it's Garrett Bischoff. And then Wes attacks Angle from behind.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Not really, Sergeant Dokes. No. This might have been an okay swerve if people hadn't been predicting it for the last 5 months, but they had. I mean, hell, at this point, the far more shocking turn of events would have been them not being in the Aces and Eights. But the writers teased that Wes and Garrett were in the Aces and Eights. They teased it, and they teased it, and they teased it, and then, hey, look, Wes and Garrett are in the Aces and Eights. Wow, that was anticlimactic. I mean, really, did anyone not see this coming from miles away? And this goes back to what I said at the start of the video about foreshadowing. When you're not smart and careful about how you do it, the end result is something like this that a 5-year-old would have thought was too predictable. I think the writers have really underestimated how discerning the fans are now. And seriously, guys, it's 2013. Fans have never been more shrewd about how they view the product. If you want to swerve the audience in this day and age, you need to be smarter about it than this. So now, the Aces and Eights have gained a green-as-grass rookie in Wes Briscoe, and a greener-than-grass rookie who, by all rights, should be warming the bench in OVW in Garrett Bischoff. Wow. Just what the Aces and Eights needed to look like a real threat again.
I mean, after all this, you try so hard to convince people that you're a legitimate threat.
Sorry, not gonna happen. And one last thing. They desperately, desperately need to get Taz off of commentary. This is atrocious. It's embarrassing. Maybe he was toned down a little bit from last week, but that basically means he went from god-awful to just plain horrendous. He's focusing so much on being a heel now that he's stopped doing what he's supposed to be doing, and that's calling the show. Between that and him antagonizing Tenay and Kennelly all the time, he's just incredibly distracting, and it's really hurting the show right now. TNA, please get Taz out of the announce booth, because this is absolutely awful, and it needs to stop. Had this taken place in the Impact Zone, this would have been a middle-of-the-road show. But it was in a real arena with a real crowd that was hot for everything, and that counts for a hell of a lot. And it got me to enjoy this show a lot more than I would have otherwise. The Aces and Eights stuff is still utter crap, but barring that, I had fun with this one.
Yeah, I'll bet you did.
And what is that supposed to mean?
Oh, shut up. Just drop the act, will you? You're not fooling anyone anymore. If it wasn't obvious before, it's obvious now. The jig is up. You said that Wes Briscoe was in the Aces and Eights months ago, and now he's revealed himself as a member. Just as you said he was. How else could you possibly have known that unless you were the leader of the Aces and Eights the whole time? If that doesn't prove you're guilty, I don't know what the hell does!
That doesn't prove anything. Besides, I was only speculating that Wes Briscoe was in the Aces and Eights. I never actually said he was a member.
Oh, really?
I knew one day you'd throw that back in my face.
Yeah. And pretty soon, I'll be throwing a whole lot more. Your anonymity isn't giving you power anymore, jackass. Your moron underlings are unmasking themselves right and left. And soon, maybe sooner than you think, there'll be no one left but you. Tick-tock, blue balls. Your time's coming. And when it does, I'll be right there, laughing and laughing at you and any of your subscribers idiotic enough to still be supporting you, at your reputation, and at this asinine perch that you've created for yourself in this pathetic little internet wrestling community as it all comes tumbling down.